got technicaltraders.com. So give me a little bit of background on the business model itself, Chris. So I know that you're an author. You've recently released a book, or about to. I'm not quite sure, but you've certainly been in the game and played in the space a long time. You're got a reputation for success in doing what you do. But give me a little bit of background in technicaltraders.com. Are you primarily education for investors, or are you saying, okay, give me $1,000 or $1,000,000 or whatever the number is, and we're going to put it to work for you? Or
Mm.
are you guiding your clients, if you will? If you're up for it, this is a good buy now, we'll watch it. Are you selling long, short? I got all these questions. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
your model, and so we can kind of unpack that as well while I've got you on the line here, Chris.
Yeah, sure. So what I offer is a trading newsletter. You subscribe to it every morning or once or twice a week, depending on the newsletter. I have different kind of different newsletters for different types of traders.
Yeah.
But more or less, all I do is I send you the information saying, hey, right now the stock market is on a buy signal. This is the ETF I'm buying 100% of my portfolio in. I'm expecting it to go up. Here's my protective stop price. Here's our first, second, and third targets. You can place these orders. You can copy what I'm doing. And so, generally it's mostly active traders or active investors who are managing their own money. They follow me that way.
Yeah.
But we also have advisors taking our trades and using those for their clients. And then we also have auto trading. So you can just tap our system right into your brokerage account, your retirement account, and it'll execute every trade that I do in your account, and you can follow the strategy. But we don't manage money. We're not advisors. We run strictly as a research and trade signal service, and make it accessible that way.
That's amazing. So give me a little bit of your background, Chris. I mean, it sounds like you had an interesting growing up. I mean, when a family kind of loses it all, if you will. I don't know how old you were at that point, but again, you noticed it. Your lifestyle changed. Your parents' lifestyle changed. Give me a little bit of your background in terms of where you started on this journey. I mean, you're very entrepreneurial, obvious. Were your parents entrepreneurial? Like, how did you come by your
Mhm.
entrepreneurial spirit and get to where you are? Give me a little bit of history of Chris growing up.
Yeah. Sure. So we grew up in the country and never had TV. So I was always out hunting, building forts. I played professional paintball. You name it, it's fishing. I'm just an outdoors guy.
Hold
There's
on,
nothing to
hold
do
on.
on the
Sorry,
TV.
sorry to interrupt. Hold on. Back up a little bit. Professional paintball. Are you kidding me right now? Like, what was you competing? That's hilarious. I love that. I would have grew up playing professional paintball. Sounds like fun. Anyways, I digress, but I just had to shine a light on it. You played pro. Tell me a little bit about it, just quickly, because I'm
Yeah,
interested.
sure. So we've got one of Canada's biggest paintball fields in our area. Of course, all my buddies, we all played, and then the guys like, well, let's join the league. Well, we got sponsors, and then so we would travel around. We played these different games,
Yeah.
and we had unbelievable guns. We actually ended up playing in the Sky Dome. It was like 20 something years ago, with teams from like 20 different countries. There was like 180 teams. We were on TV. And it was just awesome. It's such a great sport.
Thanks for sharing the
Yeah.
story. I know we digress, but I just, a professional
Yeah.
paintball. Who would have thought it? Anyway,
Yeah.
so carry on. You did all that stuff growing up. It sounded pretty creative. With no TV, you were forced to be creative.
Yeah, exactly. So, so to kind of skip through everything that I've done, so I got hooked on the stock market when I was 16, and believe it or not, right after that, when you learn about something new, you start to see it everywhere. So, I got the stock market challenge at school. I was like, wow, that was unbelievable. Well, my dad got this booklet in the mail from Larry Williams. He's like one of the greatest kind of all-time traders, big into futures. And it was this little booklet on how to trade futures and make huge money with. And I read that booklet like 10 times. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, we need to open a futures account. I didn't really know much about futures. I wasn't trading or anything. I was underage. And he's like, no, we won't do that. But, fast forward into college, I turned 18. My dad, I finally convinced him to co-sign on a TD Ameritrade, or no, was it a TD trade account, E-Trade account. And I started trading, and I went away on holidays. I made a fortune trading Palm Pilot. Do you remember Palm Pilot, little
Oh,
phones?
yeah.
And I came home from holidays. I made like $8,000 with my like $2,000 account, and I was hooked. That was my first trade. I didn't even do anything. I just bought it and went on holidays. So that was like my kind of catch. And then my roommate was in web design, and in graphics and stuff like that. And I said, listen, I want to get in, I want to create a newsletter where I share my trades and research. I try and teach other people, and I sell a subscription. So he built a website, and I started going on to chat forums, and I started to build this newsletter. And so I did that in my dorm room. That was our dorm room newsletter. We ended up working together for about 10 years, built a booming business. And I ended up writing a book, uh, in 2014. And I ended up sending it to Larry. I said, Larry, I'd love for you to like review and comment on this. You got me into this sport, like into this business. And so he ended up doing a review on the back of my first book. And that was just like, that's amazing. Came full circle from starting to a book, and now I'm trading. And I kind of just, built out that newsletter, had it running on the side. It was just a perfect side gig because I could still do other things. And I eventually got into with my dad. So my parents were entrepreneurs. My mom had a hearing clinic for 25 years. My dad was a denturist. He sold his business. And so him and I were looking for something to do together. We're a close family. And we're like, well, let's jump on a plane. Let's go to China. We'll go to the Canton World Fair. There's 40,000 products that we can pick from. There's got to be something new and cool. And so we hopped on the plane and we went down there, and we walked these warehouses that literally you could see the curvature of the earth. They were so long. And we had these little suitcases on wheels, travel suitcases, and literally every booth that had a product, it had their booth name, and we take it and throw it in the suitcase. And every night we'd sit down, and it was a 12-hour time frame. We'd play cribbage, and we would just sit there with these brochures saying, okay, yes pile, no pile, maybe pile. And by the end of it, we ended up finding a product that really wasn't in Canada yet, which was the far infrared saunas. And they were made with Canadian red cedar. We're like, oh, this is perfect. We'll customize them. We'll bring them over. And him and I built a business called Lenson. My dad's name was Len. I'm his son. I'm like, let's get something like Toyota. We wanted something really cool. So we created this company called Lenson with like a health cross and the O. And we started this booming business, built a dealer network across Canada. And it was one heck of a learning curve. We had some great experiences, some terrible experiences, made some bad calls, really set us back, so we kind of got into that. And, if we were to kind of touch on one of the biggest mistakes. So starting a physical product business was the best thing that could have happened to me. It was like the ultimate university course all wrapped into one. I ended up going to Canada Customs. I learned how to do customs. So we did all our own paperwork because we didn't want to pay $500 every time a container came across. Yeah. And I learned everything from product design, customer support, did all the manuals, the marketing. But the problem was our first shipment, or two shipments that came over, was uncertified. The company, it's tough to deal with China. They sent over uncertified product. We were rocking and rolling. We had pre-sold all the material, all the products. And then we found out that they weren't certified. They had kind of lied to us. And we were down like 250 grand with 2 containers loads that had to go to the dump and we couldn't use. And it was just a huge, huge setback. And we couldn't sell anything. They didn't get certified for another 18 months after that. And so that was like our biggest obstacle. And there is nothing more frustrating than watching the rest of the world bring in the different products and, come to life around us. And but we rebounded with a vengeance when we finally got booming again. We built this massive dealer network across Canada, the United States. We got on As Seen on TV, and we just went all out. And we were just selling them like hotcakes, and until more or less the market got flooded. But that was like a really amazing experience going from. One of the things was I got to be a CEO. It was always my goal to be a CEO of a company. So we incorporated. I became the CEO. And literally created everything from ground zero. And eventually we packaged the business up and sold it off because my father was moving back to work with my mom in her hearing clinic. They had expanded and got more practices. And my newsletter business was booming. I was making more in a month from the newsletter than we were making in a year from the sauna business. But the sauna business was great because we traveled. We would go long drives with truck and trailer to dealers to deliver truckloads full of saunas and stuff. And him and I are like two guys. We sit in the car, we whistle. You put a song on, we can like whistle it perfect. It was a lot of good times. And so that was kind of one of those ventures that we got into. And my dad was big into real estate. He had over 1,500 units, mostly like Edmonton, Alberta area. Yep. with a partner. So he was huge into real estate. And then I started to get into real estate. In fact, I read, Don R. Campbell's books. I read a couple
Yep.
of his books, Real Estate in Canada, Real Estate Investing
Real
in
estate investing
Canada.
in Canada. Yeah.
I read his joint venture book. I actually was a member of REIN for a year, and I
Oh,
bought
were
the
you?
Acre system.
Why
And I
didn't we
actually
ever met? We never met. Oh, wow. Do you remember
no,
when you were a member?
uh, 6, 7 years ago, maybe,
Oh, wow.
maybe.
We should have definitely crossed paths. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so I took the Acre system. I ended up building my custom-owned super suites, my semi-detached, high-end, beautiful spots with accessory apartments underneath on one property. Beautiful. I have them now. They're my they're my cash for life type of system here. But I did the super suites, and which they walk in, everything's done for them. The yard's maintained. They walk in a beautiful package. I just followed the books and the Acre system to the T. And now I own self-storage facilities as well, which I'm doing with my dad because we wanted to kind of do one last thing together. I'm like, let's do a self-storage facility together.
Yeah.
We took a course and built one of those. And my parents are entrepreneurs. They've had all kinds of different businesses and side things, and they've done very, very well. So yeah, I'm from an entrepreneur family, and I've kind of done a lot as we go through all those different types of businesses. And on the side, I like to invent stuff as well, which is really cool.